Hi guys, can you introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves?
I'm CL Jeruzik, and I'm an old fart, 77 years old. I've been retired for 21 years now and did 25 years at Santa Ana PD.
And I'm Tony Ochoa, badge number 433. Worked approximately 34 years with Santa Ana. I'm ready to turn 68 in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
And still upright and above ground.
You guys still look great. And nicknames, Och and CL.
Yeah.
That's what you were called in
I
the
had a
streets.
lot of names, I guess.
So go ahead and just tell us.
What do you think of the coppers that had a guy that was doing TikTok videos and came over by and got pissed off because the cop was playing Disney music in the background and everything, so they couldn't do the TikTok videos or the YouTube videos? Hear about
I
that?
didn't hear about that, no.
Yeah, what happened is they've got guys now that are going around and they're following cops around, looking, probably trying to find something that they do wrong and stuff. So one of the guys put on copyrighted music for Disney and played it on this outside speaker. So the background music would go to the Disney deal, and if there's music on any of the videos and stuff, if it's copyrighted, they can't do it without the permission of Disney. So therefore,
Well, that sounds like a scam, though.
the copper decided, well, you're going to videotape me? I'll put on Disney music on my outside speaker so you can't take anything.
Pretty creative.
Yeah, I thought it was.
there you
Well,
go.
he got in trouble, of course, because,
Of course.
the city councilman came up and said, well, you're playing this and you're keeping people awake and they're going to school the next day. It was right there by El Salvador.
No, man.
So, I mean,
Nobody sleeps there anyway. What
no,
are
they
you talking
don't.
about?
The gunshots wake them up all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Oops, sorry about that.
Yeah, now it's a whole new world. You know, around the time of Rodney King thing, everybody that I arrested, they were all white, or the majority. They're in Santa Ana. They were there picking up dope.
White people in Santa Ana?
Yeah, can you believe that?
I can't believe
And
it.
they were all looking for a guy named Jose, all over town, right? And then I'll be yelling, "Somebody get a camera! Somebody get a camera!" I go, "Are you stupid or what? Nobody can afford a camera in this neighborhood, you know." And it was true, you know. Nobody could. It was down in Southeast and all that stuff. So nobody had a camera. Now everybody does.
Oh, you bet.
You know, every transient on the streets got a camera, a
Well,
video.
the
camera,
government gives them
a
that.
free one. All the illegal aliens coming across. So
Actually, I heard that's what's happening is
Yeah.
they're now getting phones, and their thinking is that they are going to trace the phone so they know where the illegal aliens are. Well, the illegal aliens throw it away or keep it, and whatever, and
That's the plan.
the
that's a
government
tracer.
pays for it.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
And you know what? Things are a lot more visible because of media. And I tell people now that, well, we can't do anything. Oh, you can still do that. Because I taught all the guys that I trained and all the guys on my team, don't deny, justify.
Yep.
So if you can't justify what you're doing, which is arresting people, then don't lie about it. As long as you follow those guidelines, even this day and age, it's all going to come out on video anyway that somebody else took. You did all that you could, and so you just got to be a little bit more smart about it, you know. Like this guy with the patented music on board
Yeah.
or whatever. But it was just a heck of a time that I grew up in Santa Ana, and I had maybe a few months of cadet training when they had the cadet program. And, you know, we used to drive around down at the famous, a lot of the new guys might not remember, but the Bristol Gardens was on
Yeah,
the
most
northwest
people
corner
don't
of
know.
Bristol and Santa Ana Boulevard, and it was a black-owned bar, and nothing but hookers and pimps would hang out there. So all the Hispanics would go over there in the evenings, and I used to drive people because we lived there. I go, see that black stripe on the wall? Yeah. See the other one down at the bottom? You know what that is? No. I go, that's the hookers' butts and their shoes, because they'd be leaning against there, right? So we'd go find fire extinguishers all over town. The ones that sprayed the water, the soda water, and we'd drive by every night, hose the hookers down. We'd be getting chased around town by the pimps.
Remember the old Dewdrop Inn at Second?
Yeah.
Second or St. Anna Boulevard and something.
Yeah, I think that was Hesperia.
Yeah, Asterian or something.
Yeah, and I think that was the Mackey brothers, Herman and I can't remember the brother's name. Herman Mackey. They had the.
Oh, yeah.
Supposedly it was a
yeah.
a barber shop. Remember the Dewdrop Inn? And some of my best snitches came out of there, the hookers. Because, we'd drive up and they start spilling their guts without you saying anything. And they said, well, tell you what, I'm going to arrest you for this misdemeanor warrant just so your pimp don't know that you're giving me information. Oh, yeah, okay, good idea. So, you got a warrant, by the way, for traffic or whatever. Oh, yeah, he'll come bail me out. So you get all this good information, book them in jail, they'd be out a few hours later. But you had some great info. And, one of my best snitches was the most beautiful, I hate to say it, transvestite I've ever seen in my life. This guy's like 6'2", big blue eyes, looked like Cameron Diaz with meat on her.
Wow.
Right? And he had the big old implants and the greatest legs you ever want to see in your life.
All shaved.
It was a guy.
How do you know it was a guy?
Well, the Vice had arrested a bunch of guys from downtown. In the middle of all these guys that were soliciting for prostitution is this gorgeous blonde. So I walk in, I'm going, hey, what are you doing here? And he goes, well, I got arrested. I go, well, obviously, but what are you doing in here with all these guys? And she goes, I'm a guy.
My name's Jose.
Yeah, I forget his name. And I said, what? You're a guy? Please tell me you're not. He goes, yeah, I am. Well, they didn't handcuff him. All the other guys were handcuffed. Grabs his blouse, pulls him up, and
Shows you what?
and I said, hey, no offense, but you got the best looking set of boobs I've ever seen on a man. And he laughed his butt off, right? And it's like every time I saw him down on Main Street and Santa Ana Boulevard, I'd wait for a John to pick him up, and then they'd go down a few streets. And I was working traffic, by the way, on a motor at the time. So I'd see a vehicle code violation and pull him over, and I'd yell at the guy, what are you doing with my wife? Oh, I didn't know she was married. It's my wife, man. Where'd you pick her up? I pull on and he goes, get out of my car, you stupid, whatever. And I'd be laughing my butt off. So he'd go around the corner. The guy would get a ticket, and he'd leave. So I'd go around the corner. Hey, you got anything good for me? Oh, yeah, these guys are dealing dope. These guys are dealing guns, whatever it was. All right, we'll see you later. Take it easy. And the last time I seen him, he got arrested for like 14 or 16 warrants, all for prostitution. So I don't know if he ever got his penis or not.
That was something in those days.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was, yeah.
And I told somebody, I go, it's pretty bad when the guys dress up like women in Santa Ana look better than the women.
That's pretty damn close to true. I mean, some of the ones on Harbor Boulevard were terrible looking.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's no way in hell I would ever pay anything like that.
I think most of those had they all had some kind of STD, the ones on Harbor, First Street and all that.
Some of those were the $5 ones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy. And we helped out, one time we helped out Vice down on East First, and they arrested this little tiny thing. She must have been 4'6", maybe 4'8", and distinct haircut, right? Short like all of us, short hair, blah, 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 blah. And so after we arrested her, we got her in the paddy wagon. Hey, so what the heck are you doing out here? Well, I'm from San Diego. I'm working my way up to L.A. I got family up there, so I got to make some money all the way up. All right, hey, be careful, take her easy. All right. So she subsequently gets booked. Well, about 3-4 days later, up at 2500 North Main, where the riverbed is, some jogger walking through there finds a head
Oh, that's
laying
right.
in the bushes.
Yeah.
Remember that one? And so they showed us a picture of the woman's head, and they did an artist rendition of her face with the eyes open. And I go, hey, you might want to check because we arrested her about 2-3 days ago. So they did some hard work, and it turned out it wasn't her. But I'm just wondering who it was because of that haircut, very distinct haircut.
Yeah, they did make that, I think. I read in the paper that they
they
did find.
ID'd her?
They got a suspect and him or her.
Yeah.
You were homicide for once, did you or did you not?
No.
No?
We
Well-
did everything in CCU, but we didn't
Right.
work the.
Homicide detectives are amazing sometimes how they come up with those.
Yeah, we had a couple of really good ones. I mean,
Weister,
Buckles was
Farrell Buckles,
excellent.
legend, Irma Vasquez, Mendel,
Yeah.
another legend. They're both passed now, but
Yeah.
incredible people.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, and so what do you guys think about everybody having a camera and harassing the officers? Because back when you were working, really that was unheard of to have.
No.
And if it did, they had a hard time carrying it. It was so heavy.
Oh yeah.
So now
Exactly.
every kid, every time something happens, nobody helps. They just pull out their camera.
All right.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think
Sort
about
of like the body cameras on the cops that everybody, I mean, all the street cops do now. I really don't think I ever did anything that probably would have gotten me fired. I might have got a couple of days off on it, but I don't think there was anything I ever did that would have got me fired for what I did. I mean, some of this stuff like grabbing people by, somebody being an asshole to you or something like that, and you got them handcuffed in back, and you do just like this twist on the handcuffs, hurts like hell, and nobody in the world can tell that you're doing it. You just sort of do a little bit of twist.
And I don't know how it is now, but we, back in our day, we knew a lot of the judges, and on a personal
Fast,
level,
steady.
too. They used to come out with us and ride,
So they understood.
so they understood,
Right.
and our word was our bond. And nowadays, I don't think that there's that closeness, and there's no corruption involved, and there wasn't back then. They just knew what we did, they understood it, so we went before them. And there's a judge now that he's like pro prisoner and pro transients.
There's
And-
a lot of judges like
yeah,
that.
yeah. And we went up in their courtroom to testify, but we had a relationship. And even though they might not like the sentences that were given out, that was a mandatory minimum sentence. But they knew us, and they he's a straight shooter. He would never lie to me, and you wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't. I remember having Burger King lunch with Judge Laird.
Yeah,
Sitting there eating a hamburger. That's the way they were back then.
He was cool, and his son was pretty good too.
Yeah.
His son was a judge. I remember one time I had a guy, a defense attorney, that said, "You're lying," and that pissed me off more than anything else. Because the one thing I didn't do, there was nothing in the world that paid me ever to lie. I mean, if it didn't happen, it didn't happen, but I'm not going to lie and say it happened. And
Aren't most cops like that? It is what it is.
I think so,
You
yep.
Just tell the truth and
Yeah.
let the chips fall where they may.
yep,
exactly.
And the standards that these youngsters have to deal with right now, they could do everything right and still end up in prison.
Exactly.
What do you guys think about that? I mean,
oh no.
That is just travesty, total travesty. And I've seen a lot of the footage of the incidents, all the way from back east, the Midwest, and then here in California. And they were in the course and scope of their employment. They were doing their job, and they
Absolutely.
did nothing else wrong. But because it looked bad, they were found guilty. And I'm sitting there like, how did that happen? Total travesty.
There's
Yeah.
nothing that looks nice about police work.
Nothing.
No, it isn't. It's like making sausage. It's
Right.
not pretty. It tastes good, but it doesn't. And the thing is that, I mean, if you're out there in the middle of the night, you've got a hot call, and somebody comes out with a cell phone and goes like this real
Yeah.
quick, God damn it, you gotta shoot. I mean,
And
because
unfortunately, they're pausing now, and they're getting killed.
That's what I was
I
going to
think,
say.
yeah, go ahead.
Too much hesitation right now because they're thinking about the camera. Is it on? Is it off? How's it going to look to somebody? You know, because not all the time you can see the suspects
sorry about
acting. Usually you're seeing the suspect from behind. It's all shaky, but they're hesitating too long. You know, guys, and I just saw one today of the Las Vegas PD. Some lieutenant sees a fight in the middle of the street. He goes to break it up. One guy pulls out what looks like an ice pick. It turns out to be a sharp pen, but goes after him. And this guy, the lieutenant, is in uniform, running backwards in the middle of the street
Yeah.
while the guy's chasing him.
I
And
can
I'm
see
sitting there-
some of our lieutenants doing that.
Oh, exactly. And I said, what the heck is that all about?
Unbelievable.
You know, so they go to kind of keep the guy in sight while the guy turns and chases him again. There's two other uniformed officers there, and but they had a different color uniform, so I don't know what they were, but they were cops. And the lieutenant's yelling, hey, somebody get the taser, whatever. Well, the guy goes after him again. By this time, he's shooting at the guy, but he's falling down. And guess what? The guy doesn't go down. He keeps coming after him.
Wow.
Realizes he's been hit, so he kind of backs off. Then he goes after him, and then a couple more shots, and that's the name of that tune.
Right.
But
why-
they're hesitating way too much.
That's why good old Joe Boyd would say, 2 to the body, 1 to the
Yeah,
head.
yeah.
Because just because you're shot in the body doesn't mean you're going to go falling down.
Exactly.
And I mean, it's been shown, people getting 10, 15 shots and they still don't die.
Right.
And they've still got a gun in their hand. So,
Exactly.
you know, you got to do what you got to do.
And a lot of the shootings, even our own, our officers, Santa Ana guys, got off one shot. Well, that's not how you were trained.
Right.
And I'm thinking, what happened there? You don't train to shoot one time. Center mass, 2 to the body, 1 to the head. And if that doesn't do it, then you try it again.
Well, it's going to cost a lot of lives.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
It's the way they're being trained now, and the hesitancy. And they used to tell you, just do the right thing, and everything will take care of itself. Remember that as we grew up? But they can't say that anymore.
No.
These officers can do the right thing and end up 12 years in prison or what may have you.
You're
Exactly.
judged by a jury of your peers, but none of those peers are cops.
Speaking of Colin Kaepernick, I challenged him in one of the videos to ride along for a week. How do you think he would do on the streets of
Oh,
Santa
my
Ana,
goodness.
Los Angeles,
Yeah.
I
Philadelphia? How do you
think he would be shocked, but I think he would justify everything that goes on and still take the part of the bad guy.
Yeah.
I think he'd say, well, you shouldn't have stopped that guy. He was only doing 55 in a 25 zone. Why are you doing this? And he was black. So therefore you stopped him not because he was doing 55 and 25, but because he was black. And I don't buy that shit. And Kaepernick pisses me off because, he basically was saved by a white family that took good care of him. And I'm not racist, but, damn it, be humble.
Standing, kneeling for the for the
Yeah.
Star Spangled Banner, disrespecting soldiers, cops, everybody that serves.
I was in the military for 4 years.
Come on.
Ward, come on over.
Yeah, we've been, what's this? Boathouse number 3, we call it, right? Because there was the Boathouse, then the Goat Hill Tavern, and this is the next closest
okay.
thing, right? And so I'm thinking, come unwind, for goodness sake. Don't keep it locked up inside, because people ask me, how did you do that? You leave home, you kiss your wife goodbye, you kiss your kids goodbye, hey, I love
Maybe
you.
for the last time. You don't
Exactly.
know.
Yeah.
You go to work,
there were
2
some
hours
that were
later,
that way.
you're in a foot pursuit, or you're in a high-speed pursuit, and then you shoot somebody, maybe kill them, and you finish that up, and then you go on to the next one and the next one, and then you get off after 8, 10, 12-hour shifts, and then you go home to your wife and your kids, and you go, "Hey, I love you, honey," and how'd it go? Oh, it went okay. But you go on this emotional roller coaster ride all day long.
Do you ever talk to your wives about, I say wives plural, but I mean wife, about what happened during the day?
If she asked me, yeah. If she didn't, I didn't. You know?
See, I never did. I was always, first of all, she was a very, very liberal type. She was a speech pathologist teacher, so she really didn't care. I mean, you make your money, I make my money, and that's the way it was. So
Maybe you wouldn't understand either.
no, they
Yeah,
basically
exactly.
did.
I know some of our guys were married, and their wives were total left-wing liberals, and gave them nothing but crap every day when they got home. Well, who'd you beat up today?
Wow.
You know, and on and on. I mean,
Crazy.
you know what I mean? And, you know, how do you deal with that on top of police work?
It's called divorce.
And it
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
99.9.
One of the things that I had a lot of trainees. I was a field training officer for 20-some years. And I loved training new kids. But I told them when they came out, if your wife or your affectionate other is not into you doing your job, it's not going to last, period.
Right.
Because they've got to understand what you go through. Occasionally, they've got to lend a shoulder to you and everything like that. Because there are times you have to talk. And if they don't really give a shit, it's never going to work. You're going to have a divorce.
Speaking of, how do you stay sane after everything that you guys have seen? You guys have seen, you're old school, veteran, respected officers, and you've seen more than most people could dream about.
No, yeah.
So how do you stay sane? I mean, like you said, Oaks, go have a few, relax a little bit. Like you said, CL, talk to somebody. What did you guys do to make that easier?
Well, I don't know what CL did, but me, it was my wife at the time was very understanding. Hey, we're going to go after work, get a couple drinks, wait for the traffic to die out on the freeway, and so I'll be home about this time. And you sit there and you not outguess each other. How can you learn from the guys that made a mistake and it was wrong? And you learn by talking to one another, and I wouldn't hold it or dwell on it. Like that crash at Civic Center in Flower.
Oh, yeah.
The 9 people were
that
killed.
to me was traumatic.
Exactly. And the more you dwelt on that, the more it ate away at your mind up here.
Can you tell everybody what happened? Because I remember that to this day as well.
Well, in a nutshell, it was a big white club wagon, a van, with 2 wooden bench seats inside, and it was a group, families going on their way to church. So they all had Bibles, instruments, carrying on. They had the green light eastbound on Civic Center, and
Flower.
some guy in a full-size pickup truck ran the red light southbound at about 80 or 90, just T-boned the van, flipped it in circles, and everybody got ejected out the back.
Centrifugal force took everybody out of the
Yep.
deals.
And most of those were kids.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember
9
there
years
was a
old.
5-year-old that was impaled on a fire hydrant and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I mean, when I got there, it was probably maybe within a minute after it happened. I mean, there were dead bodies all over the place. It really, and one of the things I'll say for Santa Ana, one of the first times I think we ever had a debriefing that
Yeah.
they had the psychologists out, because it was pretty gory.
I remember that the next about 2 or 3 days later, I think it was Groover, Dr. Groover
Yeah.
came in and they had everybody debrief, and
Yeah.
apparently it was excellent stuff. It helped a lot of people.
Well, there were some people that cried. I think you might have been one
Oh,
of them.
I know I was one of them.
Yeah.
And that was my release. Just let it
Yeah.
all out right now. If you
Yeah.
hold it in, try to be the tough guy. And that's one thing, it doesn't come back and haunt me, but it will forever be up in here.
Yeah.
You
remember things.
The worst part was the kids, the
Yeah.
Bibles, the dolls laying all over the place.
Oh.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
was
it was sad.
horrendous. And there was more, but that was the worst one. by far. So.
Yeah, you know, the next day on patrol, and I was working swing shift, and I had not what's the name of the young kid?
Diao?
Not Diao. Eric Demopoulos.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Demopoulos.
Demo, yeah.
Yeah, and what's the name of the guy that went to the POA for insurance and everything like that?
Stroman?
Stroman and Demopoulos got sent to this, and the call was a guy standing on top of a telephone pole. And so we thought, nothing big. I think Comcast was putting in cables at the time. We figured it was there. We go there, and I was the supervisor, two-striper, so I was the supervisor, rolled over, got there, and there's this guy who's probably 40 feet up on a telephone pole, standing on the very top of the telephone pole. And so he says, I'm gonna die, and everything like that. So people are trying to talk him down and tell him all this. We got all the lines. Edison came out, killed all the power to all the lines, and then we got the fire department out. We got a hostage negotiator to talk him down and everything like that. And we're there, and we thought we had him. Paramedics are going up, they're climbing up the telephone pole, and they get about 4 feet away from him, and all of a sudden he does swan dive directly into a brick wall.
Oh,
Wow.
And I mean, you can hear it sounded the same sound of a watermelon hitting the ground in the market. I mean, it was blah. And this was the day after I saw all of the other shit there.
And so after you have these calls, you got to go out and handle another call.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
You don't get a time to reprieve and go, oh, woe is me.
Gather your thoughts or anything. No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to be definitely very flexible up in your mind and in your judgment. You know, there's no lapse in judgment.
What makes police officers so mentally strong or mentally tough?
I don't think all of them are. I think some are and some aren't. I mean, it's tough. It's tough on the site. I know back in the old days, the way that we solved that,
Right.
beer at 500 South Main.
Well, I had a
The
visit-
boathouse.
The boathouse, yeah. Yeah. My sergeant, first time I ever laid eyes on him when I was going through the academy. So he never met him before in my life, and he recommended that I be terminated because I grew up in the West End, and in his judgment, I was going to be worthless as a cop for the first 5 years anyway, but I was going to turn a blind eye to all the gangbangers that I grew up with. And I said, "Are you serious?" "Oh yeah, absolutely." So in protest, I signed it, and it was later amended, if you will, because
He got that one wrong. All of us will attest.
oh
to
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
And luckily, our lieutenant was a good friend of mine, and he became a new lieutenant. So I was assigned to him. So it was cleared up. But here we are, 34 years later, and I outlasted him with all his personal attacks. And it was just, I don't know what it was about it. You know, I don't think it was racial, but it was just something he didn't like about me. And I basically get along with everybody.
You just
I don't know about that.
you just said about racial. One thing I noticed is that we really didn't have any racial problems.
No.
And what do you make of that? Why was that?
I think because now it's too politicized.
Yes.
Too political. We weren't back then. You know, you did your
We
job.
treated everybody just like everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked the black area of St. Anna quite a bit. And I mean, some of the guys, I mean, like the, God, I shouldn't mention names or anything. But
Yeah,
I mean,
negative don't mention. Yeah.
some of the people that we, 500 South Shelley and stuff like that, you know where you were going, you knew who lived there, and you knew what kind of problems you were going to get. And they'd yell and they'd scream at us stuff, and we'd go, yeah.
Yeah. Everybody disliked the police. And I don't know what year you came on, but when we had a lot of guys from Bell Gardens and all that, Gary Stover, Felix Osuna.
Yeah.
Every single week on Sunday afternoon, a riot would break out at El Salvador Park.
Yep.
Every single Sunday, all summer long. So it would start, say, at 3 o'clock. You'd go to roll call as soon as you leave. You get all your riot gear, and all the new guys are going, "Hey, what did we get into?"
Yeah.
Welcome to Santa Ana. Right? So, like, say 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening, it's like somebody turned off the switch. The riot's over. You're waving bye to the bangers that you didn't arrest. All right, we'll see you guys next Sunday. All right, everybody's laughing. There was nothing racial about that.
Right.
Even down at Jerome Center, all the big riots we put
Jerome.
down over there, and there was nothing racial about it.
And the cops are brothers.
Yeah.
That's one thing people don't understand. Why do you think police officers get so close? Why is it beyond? I mean, I understand the life and death, but why do these officers look at you?
We're
you
spending
guys,
40 hours a week with them.
But
And I mean,
everybody else does that in every other corporation. But here you guys are.
They're not close.
Years later.
You
every Monday you're having some beer and hamburger.
You depend on the other guy that's sitting next to you or standing next to you that he's going to save your life if you need it. And that really is. I mean, there's nobody that I would not go to fight for, even if I disliked them.
Right.
I mean, you'd have some 997's officer needs help, and everybody in the world would come.
What's the most interesting thing that ever happened to you guys individually on the job?
Oh man, there's so many.
Start firing them off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, fire them off.
The interesting one of many was we get a call at an apartment complex. All the neighbors are gathered around, and they say, "Hey, John's wife died 3 or 4 weeks ago. He's been very despondent, very disillusioned. We haven't seen him in like a week. All the mail stacked up, and we think he's dead inside." All right, so I pound on the door. This is at night, by the way. Pound on the door, nothing. And up to the window comes the hugest cat I've ever seen in my life. I'm thinking, well, this cat's been eating the body, right? He's well fed. So I go, "Hey, I hate to kick the door down." Well, we found a window that was ajar, so we took the screen off, went in, and we're working our way in this darkened big apartment, clearing every room, and we get down to the end of the hallway, and there's towels stuffed underneath the door with a lot of poison canisters, right, for bugs and all that stuff. A bunch of them. Well, we know that one. If somebody comes out, we're going to know. So we'll go to this one. So we open the door, step inside, and there's the guy laying there on bed like this, all green. Folded hands, everything. And we're screaming, "Santa Ana police, Santa Ana police. You all right? You okay?" So while we're watching the guy, we're clearing the closet and everything else, and nothing. So I go up there to check the pulse and all that, and the guy opens his eyes and screams.
I had something similar to that up on...
I think we all peed our pants at that point.
I remember a place up on Cabrillo Park. Was that where that was?
Yeah. Up on
Cabrillo
North
Park.
Cabrillo.
The guy was alive. I mean, everybody thought he was dead. And I thought he was dead.
That was hilarious. Well, how come you didn't answer the door? I didn't want to be bothered. That's why we kept extra underwear in the locker room. We'll go back and change.
Had some good times and fun times.
Yeah. And there was other times that they were dead. And that was a terrible thing. Families outside waiting for the good word, and you come out and say, "Hey, I want to come in and look at them." They go, "No." Because he had 3 dogs in the bedroom locked in with him when he died. And that was almost a week ago. So they ate most of the the bare flesh. No, you don't want to come in and see your dad this way anyway, you know. But then you're trying. I don't want to say compartmentalize because you're storing that bad thing in your mind, but you learn to deal with it accordingly. And you know, and then at the end of the day, we'd get together. Hey, you should have seen what I saw, man. It came right out of what's that, Night of the Living Dead, right?
Yeah,
And it
you
was
know what,
somebody
though?
real.
I think the difference on me right now is I saw all that shit. Now I really don't want to see it.
No, yeah.
I don't want. I go by an accident on the freeway or something, I'm straight ahead. I don't really been there, done that. Don't need to do it again. And you know, there's a difference between having to do it because you're assigned, because it's your job, and another thing on being curiosity. My curiosity is
Yeah,
gone.
it's not that good.
One of the other things that I've gotten to be a chicken shit. I remember the times that we'd go into shots fired and stuff like that. No problem.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is the way we do it. And now I look down and I see a ladder that's falling down, and I'm getting away from here. I've turned out to be a chicken shit.
Unless you're in your shower.
Yeah.
The people may recognize you from many years ago on the Johnny Carson show, I believe.
Yeah.
So tell them that story.
Were you on
Scale.
Johnny Carson?
No,
Or you on the register?
He did a monologue on me and everything. I'd been spending the weekend with my girlfriend out in Lake Forest, and we were going to have brunch in Newport Beach on Sunday. So I'd spent the weekend there, came home, I said I got to go home, feed the dog and everything like that, and I'm going to take a shower and clean up and everything. So went in, was taking my shower, and all of a sudden I hear police car radios out in front of my house. I'm going, what in the hell's going on? So I, without even grabbing a towel or anything, I walk out to the front of my house, look out through the Venetian blinds, and there are 4 police cars semicircled around my house. So I said to myself, you know, what's going on? So I walked back out to the hallway. There's a guy in my hallway. And I said, what in the hell are you doing in here? Get the hell out of here right now.
The silly question.
So he
What are you
takes
doing
off.
here?
He takes off running, goes into the kitchen, goes into the garage, which goes out to the garage door and everything like that. And so as he's leaving, I want to make sure, so I start walking down the hallway real quick, still naked, no towel, I'm still dripping wet and everything. And all of a sudden, I start running down the deal, and here's another guy that tries to run past me. So I take him by the shirt, throw him down to the ground, tell him to spread his arms and legs out apart. And as I get him down, I run back, get my gun, which was sitting on my desk in my office, uncovered or anything. Which if he would have got back that far, he would have had a gun. So I picked up my gun, came and covered the guy, and said, "Don't move," and everything like that. Opened up the door for the cops to come in. The cops came in and arrested the guy. So Jay Leno did a monologue on it. I was covered in the front page of the Register.
Naked?
Not naked, no.
With photos or, yeah.
And got some photos and everything, but they're recreations. And in newspapers and radio broadcasts all over the place and stuff like that. So.
I remember that. That was great.
Whoops.
And
It just killed the camera.
The other, I know that you used to do a lot of things for the kids in TJ.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I still do.
I didn't know that.
And it all started with Mother Antonia Brenner, who set up her own. Oh, thank you. Set up her own sect of nuns.
That's it.
And she lived in the women's prison down in La Mesa, in Tijuana, for 34 years. So she can come and go as she wanted, but that was her living quarters. And like 4 blocks away was we called it the nunnery, where she would help poor ladies that were coming through cancer treatment. And our church got involved with them. And I said, that was cool, because they had a, what do they call that? A daycare center for cops in Tijuana. And most, if not all,
I need that now.
yeah, most, if not all, were from dead cops murdered by the cartel
Oh,
down there.
wow.
And so people would ask me, people, Santa Ana cops, what in the hell are you doing going down to Tijuana knowing that these bad guys are down there? You're a Santa Ana cop. And I said, not to be cliche about it, I go, but that's the mission the Lord has given me.
Awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
So I stuck to my guns and I said, hey, I'm going to do something for the children. If not, I'm going to be a hypocrite. So if you remember, we started having toy drives and money drives and fundraisers. And thank God, here we are almost 20 years later, and I'm still helping them out, helping the kids out. And with the money we got from the Santa Ana cops and affiliates, I'm still sending them money down there. And it's such a blessing for me, and that's what gets rid of the demons for me from here. It's a way of purging everything out.
I remember you did this without fanfare for a lot of years, and
Oh, yeah.
and I just remember how impressed I was. Can you, not to, you know what, you didn't ask me to do this, but can you give the address where they could send checks if they so want to do that, and then volunteer to, or donate to this program?
I don't have it on me.
You know
Maybe
what?
the
We'll
next
post
time,
it.
so
We'll post it on our website, so you can, if you want to send money for these children, you can do that. And this will be up indefinitely, so it might
Yeah.
go for years.
Yeah,
But
you got my personal guarantee
Yeah.
that every penny goes down there.
it's a wonderful thing that you were doing.
Oh yeah, it's such a blessing
You
now.
remember Larry Borja?
Yeah.
He would take the kids from TJ to Disneyland.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And you know, incredible. I mean, these are kids that would have never even dreamed of anything like that.
Yeah.
Bust
I
them up
love
there.
Larry.
Yeah.
Larry to me, a lot of people gave him a bunch of shit and everything like that, but he had a great heart. And if I ever had somebody that came in and was starting to rough us and say, you can't do that to me, I'd have Larry come by, and Larry was a huge, huge guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you don't talk to me like that. That is Officer Baraha.
So, Oach, we were sharing a story earlier about what happened to you. I think it was a motor ride in Newport Beach, was it, where it happened?
Yeah.
Can you tell that story? It's kind of crazy, especially after seeing what you do for so many children, and then you get a lady doing this to you. But this is kind of stuff that happens to officers that nobody ever knows.
Oh yeah. And it just you're sitting there at stopped by the side of the road or whatever it was, and I'm in my uniform, right, working on a motor, and all of a sudden a car pulls up. Some lady gets out, and she's got some younger kid in a wheelchair. And she comes over, hi, hey, we'll start talking. I treat everybody with respect and everything. And the lady starts talking to the guy, the kid, and he going, you look at that face, you look at that officer. What's his name? Well, Choa. He goes, yeah, he's the one that killed your brother. So you remember that face. And to this date, I didn't know how to take it, like get him when you grow up, or he treated us right, even though your brother was a dirtbag or whatever. I'll never know, but I don't dwell on it, because as far as I know, I told Mother Antonia, with the children, we had a lot of heart-to-heart talks down in Tijuana. And every time I crossed the border, that was a very, very lonely feeling you can never describe, because nobody's going to help you down there. The cops aren't going to help you. The federales aren't going to help you, and the nuns can't help you. They'll try, but they can't help you. So you go down there, and I had a talk with her. I go, listen, of all this stuff that happened to me, all the people I arrested, all the ones that I shot or killed or ran over or whatever, I go, I can sleep real good at night knowing we had enough evidence to prosecute them without problems. They all deserve what they got. And the Mother Antonia, a little tiny lady, I'll pray at some rosaries for you. Please do.
Yes.
I need it. We all need it. But protection from people like that, and then going down into Tijuana, like going into the lion's den and not worrying about it. You know, I didn't act stupid and go walking around downtown or anything, because that's just asking for trouble. So we went down there on a mission to help out the orphans and the nuns, and that was my mission for the day. You know, we'd pack it all up at the end of the day and come back home and do it again a couple weeks later, you know. And now, luckily, they have a place down in San Diego where I take everything down there, where we can send checks or anything down to their address. They're more than happy to receive it.
You go to Mexico anymore?
No, no more.
I refuse to go to Mexico anymore. Been there. I started going there probably when I was 15 years old and stuff like that, and I won't go there anymore.
I don't care if I got a free vacation, 7 days, 7 nights, all inclusive. I don't care. I'm not going down there. Am I afraid? No. I just don't want to wind up inside of a 50-gallon drum in the middle of the Sonoran Desert, still alive.
We've had some officers' family that's happened to, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so it is real. People don't realize it is
Yeah.
real. It happens.
I figured when they started kidnapping pastors from churches, going down there to all the orphanages for ransom, they go, you know what? No, I'm not going down there.
How about when they killed the cardinal?
Yeah.
I mean,
I was there a week before with my kids, same airport in Guadalajara, and I knew something was up then. We came home, and a week later, I'm watching TV, and some of those undercover cops from Mexico there, Guadalajara, they were all there toting guns, waving guns around, and I'm thinking, I didn't tell my wife that, or my kids that, but they're too young.
Right.
They're only like 4 years old.
That's another thing. Try to explain that with all your experience, both of you, you know when there's trouble, and how do you deal with that? Knowing that there's a drug dealer going on 20 feet from you, knowing that there's a guy with a gun because you see a bulge in his pocket. How do you guys deal with that kind of stuff?
Never had to deal with that.
Don't laugh. Even to this date, when I was married, the wife and the kids know my back's against the wall and I got to be watching the doors. That's automatic.
Yeah.
I didn't have to say anything.
Right.
They go sit down. They go, can you see the doors all right? Yeah, okay. No big deal. Some guy walks in. I go, check out his shoes. Check out the way he folds his Levi's.
Yeah, prison shoes.
And they're all prison shoes, prison issue clothes, right? Or whatever it is. Even at this date, I do it with my kids and my grandkids, getting them used to it. If I tell you to haul ass this way, don't ask questions, go.
You actually teach them?
Yeah.
So you're telling them what to look for?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the command.
Yeah.
If I command something, you don't argue.
Exactly.
And what about you, CL? How do you...
I'm an old orphan, so I don't have anybody to answer to or anything, or to tell to do that.
But you see it.
Yeah, I do. And friends and stuff, I'll go into a restaurant or something on a date or something, and they don't understand. They want to watch the door. No, I don't do that. I'm still very protective. Most people do not know what bad people look like. I mean,
No.
You and I can walk down the street and we can see, there goes a tweaker, there goes a doper or a hype or something. And they have no idea, or a hooker. And they look and say, what do you mean a hooker? She's just a nice dressed lady. No, she's not a nice dressed lady. She might be a nice dressed lady, but that isn't why she's
still
thin.
a hooker.
Yeah.
But that's a great point.
Trying to get some pretzels.
See how that's a great point because you know the
about hookers
looking.
seeing for criminals.
Oh, that's okay.
Reactions.
That exactly. Thank you. That's a great point because some people don't understand that you know a parolee from 50 yards away.
Yes.
Okay, and they don't. A regular person can't fathom
not
that you know that.
It's not prejudice, it's knowledge.
Right.
And I mean, we got 20 years of knowledge.
Yeah, a lot of years of knowledge.
Yeah.
And just like whatever their job is, they can pick something out there. And it's not necessarily, it's probably a collection of things that maybe you can't even articulate. You can't even
Thank you,
explain to
Shauna.
somebody.
She's the best waitress around. Your best server
You know, on
around.
that same note, back in my days, I got in trouble for shaving my head, right? And my supervisor said, that's an eccentric haircut.
I didn't know that.
Oh, hell yeah. And I said, wait a minute, look, everybody else is wearing jerry curls. They dyed their hair blonde, you know, and like the dreadlocks and all this stuff. I go, that's not eccentric? I mean, it's summer. It's hot under the helmet. So I shaved my head off, and they jump on my ass like now. So they said, that's an eccentric haircut, and starting Monday, you're working up in dispatch. I go, what are you talking about? You know, all this stuff, and I'm going bald anyway. How about all these other guys on patrol that are going bald, and they buzz, right? But they weren't shaved. Well, tell you what, you can fight this battle, and you'll win it, but you're going to lose the war.
Lose the war, yeah.
And I said, well, you don't have to paint me a picture of that. So Monday morning, I'm working in dispatch, and I start growing my hair back. So by the end of the week, I'm back on patrol, right? And nowadays, at the last few retirement parties, I go, what the hell's going on here? Is it mandatory to shave your head now? And then if you remember, especially back in my days, only parolees had tattoos on their necks, their arms, their hands. I mean, they're all sleeved up and everything. Now it's mandatory.
It's commonplace, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, if I call the cops and they show up and they're all covered in tattoos, I got second thoughts about these guys. You know what I mean? And it's just like mandatory. So they haven't maintained a professional grooming standards that should be.
What do you make of everybody trying to be so hard when they're not? I mean,
Oh yeah.
you know, you guys have been there, you've done it, you've killed people, you've wrestled, you've fought people, you're this. You're hard, okay? You've been there, done that. Why do younger people have to try to act so hard? What is it about it?
I think that they've never had the experience and they don't even really know what hard is. A lot of the kids nowadays are so young, they've lived at home all their life. And all of a sudden now they're out there and they're solving a problem between these two people that have been married for 20 years and they're having a fight. And they've never been married before in their life. I mean, they have no idea on what life is going to be.
I also heard on one talk show it was why cops were trigger happy nowadays. And they said, well, they're thinking that they spend a lot of trigger time behind the Xbox. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All those war games, they're
Yeah.
blasting away and there's no consequences. If you make a mistake, there's no consequences. And then you come out to the real world and you think, hey, I'm the tough guy here. They're supposed to succumb to my authority. And it doesn't work that way. You have to earn that respect even from crooks. They're not just going to heat it to you. You know, that's their survival. Being feared, being tough. And if you disrespect that or you violate those boundaries, but you come out, you know, and a lot of these kids coming out, you know, they turn 18 or 17 and they're in the military. They do 2 or 3 combat tours overseas. Next thing you know, they're a cop in the real world. And you go, hey, now you got rules and regulations, you know. And what's going to happen? What you revert to, the Xbox, all the blasting and whatever.
But I will say that I think people with military background have a little bit more in line with what cops have to do.
Oh yeah, well definitely.
I mean, the ones that get out of college and all of a sudden they've got their degree in liberal arts, and they say, "Here I am, I'm a cop."
Well, the discipline that it takes with the BLM riots and all that, and when people were in their face, the discipline these young officers had was impressive.
Oh yeah.
What would have happened if somebody put their finger in your guys' chest?
Oh, they'd be done.
It would be done.
You don't think about it. That person's going to jail.
And where are they going first, Oak?
You know what I mean? Probably the hospital.
Right.
And nobody would end up a pursuit at Santa Ana for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Because if they ended up there, they were going to pay the price. They were going to go out with bruises.
They never leave Santa Ana. They go in, they never get out. And, you know, talk about the BLM rioting everywhere. You're looking, you name the big city, and they're firebombing the police department with cops inside, and nobody did anything. There was not one shot fired by the
Aurora,
police.
Colorado, they actually contained the police officers in their building for like 7 hours.
Yeah.
And the police chief didn't take action.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
former police chief, she just got
Yeah,
fired.
it's former police chief, thank goodness. But isn't that a shame? And you know, I
She was
blame,
a
I
community
blame the
service
sergeants on
officer.
scene. Because the sergeants on scene, if they don't have the guts or
Yeah.
courage to make the call,
Exactly.
they shouldn't be sergeants.
I agree.
Yeah, and so they had to go. They made a call to the lieutenant.
Yeah.
They made a call to the chief. No, that's not how you do
That's
it.
not how it works.
No.
You know?
You do your job, and then yeah, I get the vision of both of you. If a finger was in your chest, which would have never happened back then, that finger would have been snapped.
Yep.
And I so wanted.
And
to
the
see
guy
that.
would have gone to jail too.
Exactly, and I so wanted to see that, but I knew that those officers would go to prison if they did it. But I wanted to see it so
Oh
bad.
yeah, definitely.
But it just never happened. So we all have. You guys were my legends, right? And who were your
God,
legends?
you've got a very short memory.
No, you guys were incredible. I started in '88. You guys were, already veterans by that time. And but who were your legends, and why were they legends?
Well, I think mine were few and far between, but it was like guys like Tony Miranda, Ed DeMarco, Johnny Rod, a lot of
So
those
you're
guys.
current, like
Yeah.
you're more current
Yeah,
type of guys.
and I haven't heard any.
Johnny Rod is quite a legend.
Oh yeah,
Those are great officers that you mentioned.
great officers.
Absolutely.
They put their ass on the line. You know, they got how many Medal of Valors?
Right.
And I'm not talking about for. We had one guy that was chasing a crook, fell down, and I think he broke his shoulder. One lieutenant went into a bad situation and got shot in the hand,
Yeah.
and he was the first guy to get the Purple Heart
Yeah.
for putting our ass on the line. Everybody gets a Purple Heart. They owe me like 10 of them. And I've never asked or put in for any of them, because that was part of the job they told me.
I tell people all the time that almost every officer I know has a dozen Medal of Valors.
Yeah,
There was just not a supervisor there to write it
Yeah.
out.
exactly.
And it's really true. And when you say Tony Miranda, he saved the Fountain Valley officers.
Exactly.
Remember that?
And they
Can you
wanted
share
to
that?
fire him for that.
Yes.
Tony
share
was
that
one of my
story.
trainees.
Oh, yeah.
Share it.
Exactly. Tony Miranda was he was working patrol. He comes in.
Orange before us.
He worked Orange, yeah, and he lateral over at Santa Ana. But he goes to court. So he's in court all morning. And if you guys remember, Angie Gomez's brother had gotten killed in a crash. So he drives down to the South Coast substation to, hey, his condolences. Hey, if you need anything, we're here to help you, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, no, okay. So he starts back because he's going to start work. He's still got to work that day. So he's in uniform, marked police car. While he's on his way back to the station, he remembers he didn't have his flashlight and some other equipment. So he drives to his house, or he was driving to his house, which is near the border, and he comes up near, it was Warner and Euclid,
Yep.
right across the street from Mount Square Park, and he sees a guy run by him. He stopped at a red light. Sees the guy run by him, and he's carrying a gun. Well, that's weird. And then after that, a Fountain Valley cop runs by carrying a gun. Now that piqued his interest there. Well, they get across the street, which is a good 40 yards.
Yeah.
And
Big intersection.
they get involved in a big gun battle, the Fountain Valley cop and the crook, and there's traffic everywhere. So the Fountain Valley cop is on the other side of traffic, hunkered down. Well, he doesn't see the crook outflanking him. So Tony gets out of his unit, takes up position, cranks up a couple rounds, and kills the guy.
Yeah.
Perfectly good shooting. Nobody was in harm's way or nothing like other than the Fountain Valley cop. So at the end of the day, his lieutenant wants to reprimand him and getting fired because he had not told dispatch where he was.
Yeah.
Fountain Valley made him a hero. The officer's life that he saved made him a hero.
I still got stuff from Fountain Valley PD where I responded to that.
Oh, yeah.
Myself and Domingo Cabrera were up at having lunch just down the deal, and we responded. We were the first Santa Ana coppers there, and other things going on and stuff like that.
The rumor is he got the Medal of Valor and the letter of reprimand on the same day.
Yeah, he did. He did.
A couple months later.
You know, the chief of police for Fountain Valley was one of our tax staff during the academy, right? And as soon as he left the chief's office from getting all the awards, he's going into the lieutenant's office to get reprimanded.
That's crazy.
And maybe looking for time off. You know, so then I come in for work and I find these 3 beautiful plaques in the trash can in records. I go, hey, the print, beautiful, right? So I pull them out, and they're all for Tony. Letters of recognition and all this stuff. So I dust them off, take them over to the station supervisor's office. Hey, I found these in the trash. Can you see that he gets them? Well, apparently it meant such bad things to Tony that he threw them away.
Wow.
He dumped all those.
Well, allegedly, the unnamed commander that got him in trouble used to go to the movies on duty.
Yes, during a little bit.
Please share that story that Tony apparently or allegedly staked out.
Yeah.
And every day, and he caught evidence on camera that he was. The lieutenant
Going
was
to
indeed
movies.
going to the movies. Is that correct?
While he was on duty.
And every day, every morning after that, the lieutenant would arrive to the movie section on his door.
Well, I don't know who would do it, but they'd get the recording from the theater house. You know, in this theater, we'll be showing this and that. They'd show up on his voice recorder, the lieutenant's at
I will.
I don't know who
home.
would
I don't
do
know
that.
anything about that. Yeah, but Tony's coming down eastbound 17th Street, and he sees the lieutenant westbound, so they're crossing paths in a white unit. So Tony says, hey, I recognize him. So he does a U-turn, follows him, and it's the movie theater up at Golden West in Westminster. And he pulls up, buys his popcorn and raisinets, goes in. So being prepared as he always was, Tony got his camera, took pictures of the unit license plate in front of the theater house, and then he calls dispatch. Hey, you guys, I need to get a hold of this lieutenant. Do you know where he's at? No, he's not checked out. So then Tony calls his secretary.
I have the bill now.
Is the lieutenant in? No. Do you know where he's at? No, we don't have a clue. He left at whatever time. Hasn't checked in. So he was going to go to IA and say, hey, I'm getting whacked over here. What about him? Well, the word got out that Tony had video and pictured him.
That was great.
So he went up to IA on his knees and, oh, forgive me.
Now we had a shooting where unfortunately I believe some Long Beach officers were killed by that satanic suspect, and Johnny Rod. Isn't Johnny Rod the one that took him out?
Right, exactly. And
I got it.
No.
I got it. Thank you.
well, thank you.
Wow.
You know, the biggest touching thing about that shooting with Long Beach is that where the heck was it?
Mike Wellner was the sergeant on scene. I just talked to him the other day. Yeah.
And nobody knew, but at the what do they call it? The center there in front of the PD, the community center. That's where they had Tony's going away. You know, they're
Oh yeah.
and the guy shows up, and Johnny Rod was involved. The one officer that survived, he got shot in the face, and he was there to give him his own plaque and to thank him for all this, and it was very emotional.
Well, I didn't see that, but do you remember the exact details of the Johnny Rod shooting
No.
on Main Street?
Yeah. Well, it was right up. It was
Oh,
on
yeah,
Warner,
yeah.
right off Main.
Over at Warner,
could you
Maine.
tell what happened there? 'Cause that was incredible,
Yeah,
incredible tactics by Johnny, and I think there was another young kid there.
Yeah, there's a
Trying
lot
to
of
think
guys.
who it was. I
I
can't
think
remember.
Lazardi.
The guy from LASO, he's a lieutenant now. I can't remember his name, but he did a good job too. I heard.
Oh, yeah.
They all are.
They were laying on the ground, ricocheting guns off the
pavement,
asphalt.
yeah.
Just incredible. But please share that with us. See how you know the details.
Can't remember. No.
No.
I would already
Yeah,
retired.
basically they put out the guy's name and information. Then they had info that he was going to try and contact family of all places in Santa Ana. So they lived down there near Warner, Maine. So the word get put out. Everybody rolled down there, cruising around, and they spot the guy at a phone booth along the Garibaldi's, I think, 100 East Warner.
Yeah.
And the guy was a total killer.
Oh yeah.
Right? He'd already took out some cops and everything. And what really failed him, he had a laser sight on his gun. So he's thinking he's trying to be top speed, low drag and high speed. Well, when you saw that laser pointing around, you know the gun's not pointing at you. So they're able to set up and outflank him. And he opens up, so everybody opens up. He goes down behind a car. So everybody's skipping rounds off the asphalt underneath there, and every round basically hitting the guy. And then after everything got cleaned up, I get the honor of getting a hold of the, I think it was code enforcement, so they can board up all the shops. They got
I
the
didn't know
window
that.
blown out. Oh yeah. Then I got to call them. Hey, listen, we had a little incident down here. And we'll be happy to pay for the damage, but you got to put in a claim with the city, blah, 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 blah. And so you didn't try and tick anybody off. But that was a great job.
That was a
that
proud
guy did.
moment for all of
Yeah,
us because our brothers in Long Beach got hurt on that one.
Yeah.
And he had devil horns, I guess,
Tattooed on
tattooed
his head.
on his head. He was a freaky looking guy.
Oh, yeah.
But
Johnny
yeah.
Rod was a cop's cop.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a few around there, but he was one of them.
Absolutely. And
Just recently retired this year.
there's a, you know what? There's a lot of good officers there. Oh, right here.
I think even, what's his name, Bill Cheney, he was a good cop.
Oh,
Very,
Bill Cheney.
very intelligent guy.
Amazing. I remember he told me, I rode with him one day, and he goes, we're going to go catch a bank robber today. He had been on duty that day, and I came in later. Sure enough, we caught that bank robber that night.
Oh, cool.
That was
Yeah.
one of the smartest officers I've ever
Love
Yeah.
Bill Cheney.
Yeah.
Very, very systematic.
And unfortunately, he's sort of gone off. He doesn't keep in touch.
Yeah,
or
a lot of
anything.
guys.
A lot of guys do that.
Yeah.
That's what we talk about. There's guys that are going to appreciate watching this that are now reclusive for whatever reason.
Yeah.
They're recluses, and that's okay. They're our brothers.
Yeah.
And, we want them to feel like they still belong because
Some are
you do
dying
belong.
off.
Oh, yeah.
And, to be
Doubt
appreciated.
That.
Yeah,
That's a
Doubt
legend. Right there.
Doubt that was my hero when I was.
Praise McDaniel,
Yeah.
Benoit, Roger Benoit,
Wow. Roger is
Floyd
basically a
Potter,
legend. Pardon me.
all those guys, they were hardcore back in our days, but they kind of drifted off into wherever, So, and then of course my weak mind, you start forgetting stuff, you start forgetting names. That there were so many other guys, and I hate to leave anybody out,
Right.
But while we're talking, sometimes I'll say, "Oh yeah, I remember him," or "I remember that," or whatever,
Wow.
And when I got started, my training officer was Gary Durham, which passed away last summer, and my corporal was Dino Chiazzi.
Wow.
And those guys would finger poke me every day. Listen, man, you're not going to make it here unless you do this. And unless you pay attention. Yeah. Well, one of those things was you journal every day. No matter what happens, your first call, your first citation, your first arrest, your first shooting, whatever. And they would check every day. Let me see your journal. You pull it out, okay.
Wow.
Every day. If you're not going to pass probation, and you're going to be here at least 2 hours after EOW, and you better not put in overtime shit. So we didn't know what overtime was for years. So
Overtime, what was that? I still don't know.
And the next day they'd come in and check, and usually Mike Fleet, he was the station supervisor when I got off duty. Hey, what time did Oach go EOW? Well, it was 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning. I was supposed to get off at 8:30. Every day, they'd be checking. Let me check, and then they take me down to the riverbed and run wind sprints in the sand and run 3 miles. And I just got out of the academy, man. I was in top shape, I thought, and they ran me ragged for months. But it built character. It made me the way I thought that we wanted to be. You want to be a good street cop, so you learn from these old salts.
Absolutely.
Go
I
ahead.
never had a training officer. Never did. I was reserve, and I was class 1 reserve. And when I got out of the academy, they didn't have enough training officers, so they said, go out and do your deal. So the first thing I did, drove down, checked out my unit, went out, piece of shit unit because you're the new kid on the block. First thing I did is made a car stop, ran a warrants check on the guy, 1032. There's got a warrant on the guy, took him to jail. So I basically took a unit, went out, got an arrest, went back, figured back on the deal again. And I never ever had a training officer.
What's the saddest moment you guys ever had on patrol?
A lot.
There was a ton of them, and most all of them were kids, dead kids, dead children, abused children, and I'm talking about real abuse. And that always drove me into a spin, But then you go home and look at your kids, and I'll never treat them like that. The orphans, I wound up adopting 32 kids. When I first got married, the wife said, "Hey, how many kids do you want to have?" I go, "A dozen." "Are you serious?" They go, "Yeah." Well, I wound up with like 27 godchildren, and then 32 adopted kids from dead cops in Tijuana. And to have them grow up and remember you is like, but
That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But seeing these kids getting abused or killed is just like crazy.
Yeah.
I had one crash over at Segerstrom and Greenville. Somebody ran a red light, and this lady had her 2-year-old granddaughter sitting on her lap with the seatbelt over her.
Oh no.
Well, the little girl basically exploded in her lap. They're all trapped in the car. So it took a couple hours to cut them out of the car. And this lady's got to have her granddaughter, just one mass of blood laying in her lap the whole time. And to sit there and have to watch that and do traffic control, people honking at you, "Hey, get the hell out of the street," and everything like that.
Yeah. Because they're more important than the person that's injured
right.
there.
That's right.
What about UCL? You one standout?
You know, one thing keeps reminding me is I went and it was myself and CC Carlos Carrillo. We had a call. It was up on North Carrillo, and it was on Oscar night. I remember that because the girl had gone to an Oscar party and came home. She was inside of her house or inside of her apartment up on North Carrillo Park. And evidently somebody had followed her in, and I remember going in and there was blood all over the place. I mean, this guy had beat the shit out of her and everything. There was blood all over the place. I don't know if she ever lived, don't know if she died, but I do remember always wondered whatever happened on that. I mean,
I think the general public doesn't understand that what we talked about earlier. You have to go on to the next call the next day.
Yeah, you do.
And you might not know. They think you're going to know every detail of every case.
And you don't.
You don't. You just move on.
Yep.
So, whatever happened to that? I don't know.
And they ask me, the defense attorney asks me all the time, well, what happened with that? I don't know. Didn't you check? No. Well, why not? They go, why?
Right. That's the point.
That's
not our
my
job.
Yeah. That's
Not my yacht, man. Not my yacht.
I've got to go on. You go on to the next one and the next one.
Yeah.
So
You can only have so much room.
yeah.
For that kind of stuff, and when you're finally used up, some people are used up in 5 years. Some people can take 25 or 30 years.
Uh-huh.
But when you're used up, like you said earlier, CL, I'm the same way. You drive through an accident. I don't even look. I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it anymore.
No.
But everybody else is peeking and trying to get a good look at the slaughter.
Been there, done that. Don't need that anymore.
Is there one thing that you would like?
Shauna,
This is
Can I-
for posterity.
can I get some
for your
Kleenex,
children,
please, or some
grandchildren.
napkins?
Is there anything that you guys would like to add? And maybe even saying something to the officer that's watching you in, Indiana. Who knows, right?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. So it's your time. The last thing we're going to do today. The floor is yours.
All right, go first.
Basically, we had our times. It was a different time. A lot of the time that we did was different than now. And I mean, it seems like, but I mean, if you were a police officer, you were in charge because people respected you. People do not respect authority nowadays. They are, they don't want to hear about what happened or that this guy spit in your face or anything. They want to hear that, oh, well, he just complied with whatever was going on. No, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, and I just want to tell all these guys out here that we couldn't have done it without them. We all watched our backs. We didn't have to tell each other what to do. You all knew what you were going to do. So when I wasn't able to watch my back, you guys did. And for my children, hey, I did it all for you. Whatever we all did, we made a difference during our time in the sun. We did it the best we could. We gave it all, and a lot of us gave our physical activity. We lost our limbs, we lost our backs, we lost our knees and minds and whatever, but you made a difference in life. And to the grandkids, hey, your grandpa, and it's all true because we're here telling about it.
And a lot more than that,
Shauna,
guys.
I needed that.
There's a lot more we might not be able to talk about. The statute of limitations might still be out there, but I love you guys. Don't give up. Keep fighting and keep working at it. Support cops till you die. Period.
Absolutely.
So have a great life, and help is only
we do
a
what we're
phone call
supposed
away.
to do.
All you gotta do is call somebody. We're here
And
to
I
help.
am proud of everything I did.
Yeah.
I have no regrets.
Yep.
Great way. Thank
Exactly.
you very much, you guys. You both
No,
mean
you're
a
welcome.
lot to me. And I
Thank you,
appreciate
guys.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm humbled by it. Thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Pete, take care.